This is a Beretta SO9 in 28 gauge. It is on my bucket list of guns to shoot. And today I am going to get to shoot it. But first, I'm going to learn a little bit more about this and the Beretta SO6 because, well, it's always fun to learn. I'm hoping today you can talk me through the higher end SOs. I've got a very good understanding of the lower grades, the SO3s, all the way up to SO4 and SO5, but the SO6s and their range is a little bit confusing to me, so...
Yep, no, we can happily talk you through them. That's not a problem at all. So we start off with the SO5, which is sort of the step up from the DT11 that Beretta make. They're kind of their top grade clay gun. Full, true side lock, slightly more minimal engraving, but with a nice, beautiful full pistol grip with palm swell on the other side. As you can see, stunning woodwork.
Oh yeah.
Really absolutely beautiful.
And having been to the factory, these are as hand built as you'd want them to be.
They really, really
Everything that should be done by a machine is, because that's kind of important. Yeah, the quantity of handwork and training and man hours that go into it.
Yeah, really is unbelievable. And the advantage you have with these over the DTs is just the balance and the handling on them is just taken to the next level. They're still on that incredibly strong top bolt action, designed just to take an extra level of abuse that possibly some of the more finer made guns like the English stuff might not be.
Yeah, I've been fairly vocal over the years that I don't particularly like side lock over and unders. For the most part, they are not reliable, except the SO, which generally speaking are as reliable, if not more so, than trigger plate actions.
Yep, couldn't agree more. They are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the fact that you've got people shooting these guns on a day-to-day basis and really putting the level of rounds through them that they are, and they still work, really is a complete testament to what a phenomenal action it is and how well made the guns are.
So I know the SO5 and the SO4 have different internals.
Yeah.
Do the SO5 and SO6 have different mechanisms?
The SO5 and the SO6 are on a very, very similar action. The SO5 is just on the stock itself, and the whole build of the gun is just a bit chunkier and designed for a bit more use and a higher level of consistency on mount in comparison to an SO6. Okay. SO6 is much more of a game gun in comparison to the SO5. When we're looking into the SO6s, they start with a 1G1.
So that's the engraving pattern that goes on?
Yeah,
Does that have any denomination on the quality of wood that goes on there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're going up the grades, we start with the 1G1, the 1S1. Get G stands for game scene, S stands for scroll. We've got a couple of examples here, and then as you go up the grades, sort of looking at a 2G4 or a 6G1 or something along those lines, the grade of wood and the quality of the engraving massively improves. And as these are all beautiful handmade guns, the time involved on the engraving just goes up and up and up, and it really is incredibly evident when you're looking at them. If we look, for example, to start off with the 1G1, this is the gun that most people probably will have seen if they've seen an SO. Really classic engraving, beautiful pintail on one side with a pheasant on the underside and some other duck on the
Am I right in saying that when you order one of these new, you can pick which bird goes in which hole?
Not on the 1G1s.
Okay.
They are engraved like this as standard.
It's the equivalent of a B2G.
Exactly.
You get what you get.
Exactly.
You don't get upset.
You can pick the woodwork obviously on a factory tour, and if you're going to the factory to have them made, then they can obviously build them to your spec in terms of stock length and cast and bend and all that sort of thing. But these are the guns that we see on a reasonably regular basis. They're absolutely stunning guns, beautiful handling and reliability, like with the SO5s and with all of the SO6 range, but the engraving is not quite as detailed as it is as when you go up the grades.
And how much is an SO6 new, for example?
So new, they're about 50 to 55,000, depending on the sort of level of work that you're wanting and the grade of wood, and they're around about the same money as a side-plated Perazzi. Possibly a little bit more, but that sort of ballpark.
Yeah. Side plates are cool, but they're not.
They're not a true side lock.
It's not a true side lock, right?
No. If we're looking at just a quick example of, that's the 1S1 scroll work, reasonably traditional, a bit more English looking. So for someone not wanting game scene engraving, then that's a really nice, little bit more understated.
Yeah. And they all come again,
option.
3 bouquets with the fine scroll.
Exactly.
It's a very understated, nice looking gun. Perhaps not a bit of me.
No, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's also worth saying that there is the option to have them with double triggers and straight hand stocks if you're wanting to take it to that extra level of Englishness.
And price-wise, second hand for a 1G1 or a 1S1, 20 to 23-ish?
20 to 23, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
slightly depending on the quality of the woodwork, the barrel length, the stock length, that sort of thing. So obviously something with 32-inch barrels is can command a slightly better price than something with 28-inch barrels, simply down to the level, the number of guns that were built.
Originality is important to the value, or not so much when it comes to SOs?
Generally speaking, yes, but at the same time, if someone's had one made and they're quite short, like me, and might have a slightly shorter stock, putting a pad on the end, that's not necessarily going to have an impact on the value. It really kind of depends what work's been done. But I mean, obviously, anything that we're selling here will have a full 12-month mechanical warranty on it, so they'll generally be in sensational condition.
It's interesting that you do see some really old tired ones, but
Yeah.
not so many.
Not that many, no.
Not so many. Not at this level, at least.
No.
SO4s, you need to be quite careful.
you do.
They've been around a while.
Yeah, exactly, and the same to an extent with SO3s, but
Yeah.
the SO6s, generally speaking, are very well looked after and in lovely condition.
Now, let's say we've got a heap more money. What do you get for your money on top of a 1G1 or a 1S1?
When we're looking up, so this is a 2G4. As you can see, the engraving is a real step up. We've got a pointer and partridge here, really beautiful, delicate scroll work. And on the other side, we've got duck. In Italy, there kind of duck hunting is quite a lot of a bigger thing than it is over here.
Yeah.
We do often see quite a lot of SOs with ducks on them
And a
as
well-engraved duck is a fine thing.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
A much more beautiful and elegant bird in flight than a pheasant.
Yeah, quite. We've got a woodcock on the underside in the game scene. Very, very similar in terms of, well, exactly the same action, but just beautiful in game scene engraving with much nicer wood on there as well.
Wood is a personal thing. None of these pieces of wood are ugly.
I mean, it's completely down to personal preference with wood. But I mean, as you can notice a marked difference as you go up the grades with it.
The thing I found almost most fascinating about when we went out and went round Beretta Due is that all of the stocks on all of their guns now, they're all X-ray.
Didn't know that.
So you get a 3D X-ray model of the wood to check density, to check grain throughout, to check porosity. It's insane.
But I mean, it's that level of attention to detail, though, that they sort of put through all of their work on these guns, and just really is a complete testament as to why they stand up to the level of use that they do, and why there are so many people who are still using them.
Nearly 500 years of gun making, mate. These guys
exactly
probably know a thing or two by this point.
Exactly.
Luckily. We got one with gold on.
We have got one with gold on.
Very quickly. Let's look at it, but not
to indulge Johnny.
Yeah.
So this is just a 1G1 gold. So basically, we just a little bit of gold detailing with the birds. Really stunning pheasant on the underside, and some more duck there.
And you're paying good money for that
You're paying good money for the upgrade, yeah. We tend to see the 1G1s with gold on rather than the higher grades. They do them, but they just have never been quite so popular on the UK market.
Yeah.
So it is available, but it just really depends on how much you're wanting to spend and how out there you're wanting to make the statement.
One presumes that as a customer coming in to buy one, you're in a slightly better position to negotiate on a gold gun than you are a not gold gun?
To an extent, it depends. I mean, we have seen a little bit of a resurgence in gold, and the gold SOs have always maintained a good level of popularity. They are a little bit more niche, but people do like them.
There's less of them as well.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
well, that's very true.
supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting into the good stuff now. There's two guns here that I think are probably two of the best looking over and unders ever.
Yep, agreed. The 3S1 we got here, this is a really very rare gun. They never built very many SOs 6s with 32-inch barrels, and even fewer with this beautiful 3S1 engraving. The combination of the both is just spectacular. Added to the long stock, might even fit you, Johnny.
Yeah, we'll find out in a minute whether I can suddenly find £32,950. We'll see.
It's worth it. Yeah. Beautiful straight piece of wood, lovely grain running through it. It's absolutely incredible. And at the same time, it's not too overstated as well if someone is wanting something a little bit more subtle.
It's a fine line. It walks the line. And this next one doesn't. Next one is just extraordinary.
It really is. It's absolutely sensational. So this is an SO6 6G1.
6 being the grade, G
6
meaning
being
game scene. What does 1 stand for?
So the first number, that is the grade of engraving. Then we've got a G or an S, which denotes game scene or scroll, and then the 1, 2, 3 or 4 that follows after that is the pattern in that grade. So you can have different patterns within the grade.
It is very much the same as the Browning system in that.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see the level of detail on here is just unbelievable.
It's a work of art, that.
It really is. Got beautiful woodcock on one side,
And it all just stitches
Yeah,
together
exactly.
fantastically, doesn't it? With
I mean,
this little basket weave in the background, the big acanthus, then becomes grass. It's sick.
It just is, yeah. It's just utterly unbelievable. Second hand, we're looking at a price tag of about 50,000,
Which still is a considerable saving.
Yep, oh, it really is.
But they're not cheap guns.
They're not cheap guns, but you also save on the wait time from the factory.
Which is a couple of years now?
A couple of years, but then if you're depending on the level of engraving you'll want, of course, there's a longer wait time for something like this in comparison to the 1G1.
Yes.
But you really can see that the level of detail on them is just unsurpassed.
That's very much my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I've always, unfortunately, liked things I can't afford.
It really is a privilege to be able to work with these guns, because just the level of work involved and how beautiful they are is really something very special.
Like I said, they really do talk about walking lines. They walk the line of very practical and very beautiful.
Exactly.
There's a lot of very beautiful guns out there that I wouldn't own as my main gun, and feel good about it.
So next we move up to the SO9s.
Which are a bit of an oddie, aren't they?
They are. They were initially made under license from Beretta by another company in Italy, Abbiasco and Salvinelli, and they are still a true sidelock, like the SO6s. They don't make them anymore. They finished making them in the 90s.
Yeah, replaced by the SO10.
Yes, exactly. A lot of the ones that we see are in 20 bore. Got 3 or 4 20 bores in stock at the moment. Again, the engraving on them is beautiful. They are a little bit more delicate than an SO6. You can really feel that and see that in the styling and the handling of the guns. That's the 28 bore, which I know, Johnny, is been a gun that you've been wanting to shoot for a very long time. So hopefully we can satiate that desire later today.
And they don't have the big cross-locking bolt in the top. That's the biggest difference between them and the other SOs, right?
Exactly.
Why did Beretta outsource it?
To help save on cost. Same with Purdy when they outsourced to Italy for the Sporter initially. Basically helps keep the cost down. They can still build to a really fantastic level and try and get a higher turnover through. So the SO9s, depending on what the gun is, the price point sort of sits somewhere between the £20,000 to £30,000 mark.
Okay. Is there any pitfalls in an SO9? Is there things to look out for, given they're not potentially quite as strong, quite the same build?
You do need to look after them a little bit better. You can't quite go out there and abuse them in possibly quite the same way that you might be able to with an SO6. But provided they're looked after, they are fantastically reliable, and they've got Beretta's trademark. With that, we know Beretta wouldn't let something go out of the factory that wasn't top grade.
Yeah, they were built in conjunction, right? It's Beretta tubes, it's Beretta, lots of Beretta parts.
Exactly.
From what I understand from our recent visit there, they still outsource certain bits to the people who are best at it. There's no shame in that.
No, of course there isn't. It's the same as most of the gun trade. Same with any London guns. We know they're not all just made in-house. There's other bits and pieces that are done by other people according to the skill sets needed.
So, shall we go and shoot a couple of these?
I think we might have to.
I had an SO4 once. It was possibly one of the favourite guns I ever shot. Most natural gun I ever shot.
Oh, they are lovely.
I had to get rid of it because I needed money, unfortunately, because I was young, and I've never replaced it since. Never found one that felt quite the same. It's only a 28-inch. This feels better. Right, let's rock and roll.
Let's have a go.
Whoa.
It just feels like an extension of your arm.
Yeah, there's nothing that fights against you.
No.
You can bully it, you can put it where you want. It's a big heavy gun, what is it?
Yeah.
Best part of £8.
Yeah, I think it's about £8 too, I think, that one.
It is so smooth.
Yeah.
You're making me regret not having loads of money, Archie. Well, that's a long way.
That is a very long way. I'll put it out even further for you. Shot.
Whoa.
Very good. That is some gap. And with those chokes in there as well, that's very impressive.
I mean, I've always been impressed by these little 21s.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd rather have something more at this point. All right, your turn then, big boy. What are we calling that? 65-yard crosser?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, it moves like butter. There is something about an SO. I know it's very hard to convey why they're better.
Yeah, until you shoot one.
You know how people talk about side-by-sides, how they flow and how they're magnificent, how they just feel at one with it? That is kind of how I feel with it.
It's exactly the same, and I think it's just because of the side lock, because it's handmade, because it's so finessed, it's just completely effortless and natural. the thing is with these, you don't have to look after them in the same way you have to look after London guns.
Yeah, and that suits the more idiotic man.
Well, the thing is, it's much more of a sort of working gun that you can take out on a regular basis and use as you want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it getting wet. You don't have to worry about, will these cartridges be too much for the gun? They're just stunning.
You know what I think the problem is, Archie?
It's not side by side.
No, it's not expensive enough.
That's
we need
true.
to shoot the SO6.
Yeah, I think the
and then
SO6,
you'll hit everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to shoot this.
No, me neither.
I don't think it's going to be any better than the other one, but it is beautiful.
Well, yeah, it's slightly different handling on it. Just the way that it comes to the shoulder. I think we will notice why the SO5 is a clay gun and why this is a game gun.
After you, sir. I think that this is the wrong gun to shoot at some fairly steady grouse targets.
I would agree, but
You found them well
I
enough.
found them all right. But we'll give it a go and see.
All right, let's have
See
a
how you get on.
And I think then I might have to retreat back to the Tower of Doom. Oh, there's a bar there.
Preferably don't put a massive dent in the barrel.
I mean, it's only 50 grand. What are you worried about, Archie? Right, let's have that incomer quickly.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the SO5. It's definitely less controllable. It's not that different in the grand scheme of things, but the lack of palm swell, the different forend, the way it moves, you do need to kind of flick it into targets a little more.
You do a little bit, but I mean that's often the same with a lot of game guns in comparison to clay guns. So it's a much more sort of natural, instinctive style of shooting.
It definitely is less controllable.
Yeah.
I feel like a hybrid of the two would make me very happy.
Right, come on then.
Let's see if I can actually shoot it. It's amazing, isn't it? I automatically thought because it was prettier, I'd shoot it better.
Yeah.
I often think that's the case. Well, that was a fascinating process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little bit heartbroken.
Well, sometimes it is a bit like that, but I mean, it wasn't really the right fit for you.
I mean, that's always a big deal, isn't
Yeah.
it? You can't expect to just shoot every gun perfectly.
No, exactly.
Unfortunately.
And
But
sadly, we're not quite George Digweed, but it does move very, very nicely. For me, this is much more my sort of style of gun and fitted me a bit better.
Yeah,
you
shot it very, very well.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And well, I mean, I think likewise for you for that SO5, I mean, there wasn't much that you didn't hit with it.
I fell very quickly in love with it.
Yeah.
Any misses were entirely my fault, and I could see very quickly where I was missing, which is always a nice thing,
Yeah,
whereas with
no,
that,
absolutely.
I couldn't tell you.
Whereas I think the same for me with the SO5, I couldn't tell where I was going wrong with this. It just all seemed a bit more natural. But I mean, it probably speaks to the game shot in me a bit more than the clay shot.
Yeah, very much so. It's an interesting one with any gun of this level, be it Beretta, Krieghoff, Beretta, where they're custom guns, you can't just say, I don't like this.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many variations and varieties of SO.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to shoot enough till you find the one for you.
There's something out there for everyone, but it's not picking them up off the shelf. They're all different. Yes. It's not like with the EELLs, which are lovely, but different class. But these are just so individual, and each one has its own proper sort of soul.
I was very much looking forward to shooting this, but after the SO6 experience, I'm a little bit nervous.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, 28 ball is it's lovely no matter what. When it's in an SO9, it's really got to be something particularly special. So I think we're going to have quite fun, especially as these on these driven grouse targets.
Well, this is the gun for it,
This is the gun for it. Just the attention to detail that they put on it is just really quite something to behold. They never made very many 28 bore SO9s anyway, so just to have a true pinless side lock 28 bore, that's a pretty cool, pretty rare thing.
Well, I tell you what, it is a joy to shoot.
Yeah.
It is an absolute joy to shoot, and the trigger brakes on it are actually a little bit better than the other two.
Yeah?
Well, different. Well,
have your expectations been met?
I think so. I mean, I'm happy anytime I shoot a 28 gauge, man.
Yeah, the same here. One of the few in the UK. It really is a joy to be able to to shoot it.
And it's man-sized still.
Exactly.
It sounds a bit dumb.
Yeah.
But it's still very shootable. It's not wandy, it's not horrible, it's just lovely.
Yeah.
It's a proper little magic wand.
It really is.
It's properly delicious.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable.
To have that on a driven partridge day or a driven grouse day would just be a dream.
I'd happily take that as a bit of a walked up gun, I think.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
Just enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm still not refined enough to not want a 12 ball when I'm stood on a proper driven day.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair enough. For someone wanting something a little bit different, then, I mean, this really is just phenomenal.
I look forward to next time.
Yeah, fantastic, me too. Very good to see you as ever.
£1 a week for the rest of my life?
Not quite sure about that, but we'll see.
Thank you for watching, guys. This channel is made possible by our amazing sponsors. You can find out more about them in the description down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can join as a member. You get loads of extra content, well, some extra content, and occasionally we hook up and go clay shooting together as a membership group. If you don't feel like joining today, we really appreciate you watching and subscribing. Have a wonderful day.